Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here to talk about the iPhone 15 Pro 7 months later. And how has the phone held up? Is this a phone that we can still recommend in 2024? In spite of the fact that the iPhone 16 is about what, 4 or 5 months away? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. And one of the things I actually want to lead off with is the hardware, something that has been strikingly surprising yet refreshing with phones now coming out, especially in this, post 2020 era, 2023 to be specific, and now in 2024, is how well this titanium hardware has held up. Just give you guys a great look and glimpse into the phone. I don't even think that's anything there. And even if it was, you couldn't tell because maybe it's also because of the color of phone that I chose in rocking natural titanium. But as you guys can see, just from the framing alone, there's no damage on this device. It is beautiful. It is withstanding everyday wear and tear. Now, if you get a little closer, you see like the in between each camera module needs to be clean here on the back. But other than that, there's no scratches. Most of this will wipe right off with no problems. Right now, I'm probably smearing it with my fingers. But hit it with a little spray, microfiber cloth. It will look brand new once again. The Apple logo is flawless. No scratches on that glass. And this frosted natural titanium look on the back is also still flawless. As many cases that get sent out to me for review, or the ones that I purchased to use or for review, I don't rock cases that often. I rock them when I feel like it. Maybe it goes good with a fit, so I do a little fashion approach, you know what I'm saying? But outside of that, my phone's usually looking like this. And even more so considering the fact that now that I have a car that I can use CarPlay with, and now this has to sit out, plugged in because I have wired CarPlay, which we will talk about later. I still rock this phone naked or as is, and it does a fantastic job of weathering the storm. Even trying to look at the display to the best of my ability here. I know I don't have it all the way off because I'm using always on display. Look at the display. No scratches. No scratches anywhere. It is flawless. And that's one of the things I really wanted to lead with in this video is the hardware. The hardware on the iPhone 15 Pro has been straight up astonishing and has been a delight not having to worry about my camera modules cracking or scratching. That's provided me with great content. The screen staying ever resilient, allowing me to watch beautiful content on this beautiful dynamic XDR display that we get on the iPhones. The OLED is a master class of it on its own, and that's something I also appreciate is the fact that I don't have any problems there, and the speakers on this phone rock very, very strong, very, very well. I mean, surprisingly, they do just as good as a MacBook Pro. Something that I am also equally astonished and in awe of on my 14-inch, that is the speaker quality. And that here on the smaller iPhone 15 Pro has been beautiful and has been an amazing experience. The action button I have now wired or changed to activate my camera because I have found more use using it for that than using it as my mute switch. Now, granted, it has been a habit that I have had to break over time because as I remember clicking on this, and it even lets you know if you click it, it'll let you know you're trying to access the camera. Like giving you that little icon there up at the top. It's camera related, not mute related. I have to swipe down from Control Center, then access mute. But the action button has come in clutch for moments where like I just want to get something real quick, whether it's a photo or video. I'm able to push and hold that action button and get exactly what I desired. So shout out to the action buttons use case as well. Overall, the hardware has been exquisite, even to the point of noticing how well this works with 5G connectivity, something that is more hardware based because you need the hardware for it to work via network connectivity, but 5G has been really good. I'm on T-Mobile's network, and I have noticed the improvements with T-Mobile's network over the course of time that I've been rocking with T-Mobile. And that 5G UC is no joke. And being able to experience that here with the iPhone 15 Pro on the go has been immaculate as well. Something that I definitely appreciate that Apple has done with the hardware for the iPhone 15 Pro. Now, speaking of hardware, jumping into the cameras, what a delight. Yet again, what confidence I have in being able to use the cameras for any situation that I need. And this is the iPhone 15 Pro. Remember, the Max allows you to have like one additional focal length, and I have not quite needed that. I would like to experience it, but I haven't needed it. And that speaks volume of what Apple has been able to do with the smaller 15 Pro. Now, would I like to try the bigger size Pro Max out and experience that additional camera quality and hardware, experience a larger display, larger battery? Of course. Maybe I'll think about that with the iPhone 16, because I'm in a dilemma right now in and of itself, trying to decide whether or not I want to keep this and get the 16. And that way this can maybe just be a backup device in terms of running beta software like iOS 18 coming up, which we'll talk about in a second. The cameras have been beautiful, and some of that you guys have already been able to see on the channel. I don't think I have too many pictures that I can throw up right now, but in terms of video quality, if you see a lot of talking head videos on my channel, if you see a lot of car content, well, I won't say a lot, but the car content on my Honda Civic that I've been slowly bringing to the channel is all shot with the iPhone 15 Pro. It's not shot with anything else. And I'm using a Rode Video Mic Me-C to plug in. Now, for whatever reason, that's a software problem we'll get into in a second. But just talking about the quality of the cameras, I use my iPhone for on-the-go stuff, and that you guys have experienced and seen on this channel. When it came to my MacBook Pro unboxing, when it came to talking about the Pixel 8a, I was using the iPhone 15 Pro to shoot that content. Most of, like 99% of the iPad content that I had was shot with the iPhone 15 Pro. So when you guys have been checking out the channel, watching videos, if you don't see the iPhone 15 Pro in the video, or basically if you see a tablet, or you saw the MacBook, you saw the Pixel 8a, the talking head points, it's all coming from the iPhone 15 Pro. And that speaks volumes, because this can compete with my Sony shooter that I have, my A7 III right now. It can compete with that. It can compete with, I don't know if you can see my camera if it's out of frame, my A6100. It can sure compete with that. I don't have to rely on big, robust cameras, because Apple has done a phenomenal job thinking about pros with their camera setups. So I wanted to highlight the cameras as part of this hardware feature before we move on to the software. And before we do, if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, the notification bell. It's all free. That way it's our video, so you and I can sit back, check, see what's cracking. And don't forget to hit that super thanks button down there by the like and dislike button, Cash App and PayPal, and check the channel out for all the videos available to you. That's a way to keep tech fresh and alive on this channel. Now let's get into the software, and let's lead with what I was just talking about when it comes to the mic. So upon grabbing it right here, and I always leave the dead cat on it because I'm out and about, AC blowing in the car, wind blowing out and about in general. So I just keep this on there. If I'm in house, I'll take it off for the talking heads, but for the most part, this stays on, so that way I can record my content clean. This mic connects via USB-C, but for whatever reason, it records in mono. Or in other words, one channel stereo. And what I have to do in post is actually duplicate that audio channel to provide dual channel stereo for you guys to be able to enjoy with no problems. I don't know why it does that initially when the mic very first, if not came out, when I very first got it. So you could argue like iOS 17.3.4ish. When I got that mic, I had no problem recording in stereo. But then slowly it was sometimes it's stereo, sometimes it's mono. And then I think post iOS 17.4.1, it's been straight mono like the entire time. Maybe I've gotten it to record stereo once, and maybe it's just an order of events as to how I plug it in before it decides it wants to record stereo. But that is a weird software issue I'm having with the hardware of the Rode Video Mic with the iPhone 15 Pro. Now with the Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus, it records stereo, but it will just completely distort after like 2.5, 3 minutes, maybe 5 to 7, depending on the content that's being shot or how close you are to the mic. It will just clip out like crazy and you sound Mr. Roboto with the S24 Plus. So maybe it's the mic to some degree and not necessarily the phones. I have not tried it with the Pixel 8a yet, so I don't know, but I just know in terms of the iPhone 15 Pro, the mic has been slightly weird when it comes to recording content. Now, speaking of the action button, one of the things I hope that they add, which we've talked about in a past video with iOS 18, but hopefully they add additional options, maybe even AI options with the action button going forward with the iPhones. I think that the action button has real capability to be a game changer with multiple pressing functionality, such as, if not a single press, a double press, a triple press, a press and hold as we currently use it to be today. But I think there's a real legitimate case that the action button can be very more active with iOS 18 on the horizon. In terms of software, it has been buttery smooth, nothing that I have had any problems with. I've had some problems every now and then with my Apple News still loading, and I've rebooted the phone and it fixed it one time, and then this morning I actually cut it off and actually cut it back on after 5 to 10 minutes. I think it was like 10 minutes. I think technically you only have to cut it off for about 5, but I cut it off for 10 because I was kind of getting up, getting out of bed. Turned it off. Once I was done getting ready, then I turned it back on. So I think that F definitely plays a role. Maybe after major software updates or even those iterative software updates, actually cut the phone off, not just reboot it, but cut it off after 24 hours of installing that update. Cut the actual phone off for like 10 minutes. Maybe that helps with certain bugs or glitches that we have in the system, and that would include just general day-to-day use. Sometimes YouTube Studio app is tripping. Sometimes the YouTube app is tripping, especially once you start casting. Like, there's weird little bugs that happen that just doesn't make any level of sense to me. Now, in terms of my widgets, these work just fine. I haven't had any issues with my widgets. MD Vinyl and MD Clock have had several updates recently, so I don't know if that has been something they've been working on in their own background to make sure that their apps stay consistent with the most recent iOS updates. And shout out to them for keeping their apps updated. But just from a software perspective, it's been just fine. I mean, Apple Music also for the most part works very well. But one of the things I've highlighted with Apple Music is the fact that if we come back in here to home, the heavy rotation playlist as of now, I believe still only records 25 songs. Now, maybe they change. Yeah, they have changed because they added Euphoria in 777 to the list and Jordan Lucas to the list. So that heavy rotation mix does change, but it's still only 25 songs. So I can't really depend on this as a playlist if it's only going to be 25 songs, especially like let's imagine you got some friends over. 25 songs will blow through really quick within the span of an hour, hour and a half. You go on a road trip, that playlist is dead by the time you leave your city. Like, there's those little tweaks and changes I hope that iOS 18 will make with Apple Music with some of the additional features that they've been adding this year. And I hope that really reins in on the Apple Music experience. Apple Podcast, of course, works just fine. I haven't listened to it too often recently just because I watch a lot of YouTube, so a lot of my information will come from YouTube, and I'd rather watch the visual podcast over the audio. And so only if I'm like in a pinch or maybe playing in video games will I then maybe listen to the podcast while I'm doing those kind of activities. But all in all, it's still just as sharp and fast as ever. Transferring data between this and the MacBook Pro is as fast as ever. The AirPods Pro work just fine. So software has been great. iOS 18 is something that I'm just hoping brings more AI and machine learning to our experience, specifically doubling back to the camera, being able to do more editing in post before actually taking it to a larger professional editing app. So, to some degree, we can adjust blur and post on our photos, but it would be nice to be able to do much more editing and adjustments and like smart AI trimming to video clips, or specific photos can be adjusted in like weird specific ways. I tell you the truth, the ideas I had are not coming to my mind now as I record this video. But I believe just smartening up some of the editing or post processing on photos and videos we take. So whether it's low light experiences or a photo and it automatically maybe unblurs the photo. So that way, whether or not you took a backup photo that was unblurred, comparing the two, you'll see a very, very maybe menial or small difference. I think those characteristics, those experiences with AI would really take their cameras one step further with iOS 18. And I think the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, for that matter, are very, very much so primed for iOS 18 because that A17 Pro chip, again, no joke, it does well with video games because of the ray tracing, because of the style of chip that was with gaming in mind. So I think that's already going to be pretty well underway with iOS 18 and AI video games, but definitely just on a regular day-to-day experience, being able to adjust our widgets, our apps, where we have them placed. Control center definitely needs an upgrade. And even this side menu here, I think, could potentially be upgraded to look completely different or be done away with, because even though I have this stuff housed here, I'm using this stuff because this is here. If this wasn't here, I would have all this in here or in here. Like, I would be completely fine with just 2 pages. I don't necessarily need a third page because it just feels like it's in the way. I'm basically doubling on, date calendar based widgets. I got my fitness widgets up there, but it's not a big deal. The Apple Music widget could live right in here, right? Like my battery widget could live up here. So just to exemplify some of those things, I actually have a video that I did a while ago for iOS 18 and iPadOS 18. And so hopefully I'll be able to cue those somewhere in here in this experience while you guys are watching this video, if you guys are interested in that. And of course, I'll do a community post, that way you guys can see that video as well. More in-depth discussions about iOS 18 and iPadOS 18. This leads me to battery life. And despite using this phone much more often for video-based content, my battery life is still hanging in there beautifully. Like if we come into settings and I jump in here to battery health is normal. I'm still on optimized, and my maximum capacity is still 100% with 210 charge cycle counts. So again, I do my best to be very smart when it comes to my charging. I barely charge it a day unless I'm in my car, which is what we're going to get into now. That's the only thing that actually made me a little bit tepid or a little nervous about my battery health, is because of wired CarPlay. Because I have to plug it in and it has a charge. I typically don't try to charge a phone no more than once a day or once every other day, because it has that ability despite having always on display active. But thankfully, since having the car over a month now, I have not had to worry about CarPlay really beating up the battery. It hasn't. Usually my phone is somewhere not around 100% anyway, so when it does charge, it's a little bump. And depending on how long the trip is, I'm probably only getting about 10 to 20% out of that charge. And we're not placing it on the charger again, maybe if I'm very cognizant of the fact that I placed it on the charger. I might charge it just to finish out that cycle that day. If not, I'll wait till it drops in percentage before I turn around and put this on the charger. So thankfully, wired CarPlay hasn't hit my battery, but with always on display, more camera shooting, more kind of thumbnail creation, since I create 5 videos a day, and what else? Just general scrolling and, social media browsing from time to time. This phone handles 24 hours with no problems. And if I actually cut my always on display back to just, the all black with just the time, I would gain that much more percentage back if I really wanted to do that. But I haven't had to do that because the battery life has been phenomenal, and I'm willing to take that little slight 5 to 10% difference to experience the phone how I want to experience it. And that is my overall review of the iPhone 15 Pro. It is primed for iOS 18. It's ready for general use, and I can 100% recommend those contemplating buying the iPhone 15 Pro to buy the iPhone 15 Pro, because you will not be missing out, especially if you use it for those pro level activities and you need the power, you need the space. I have 512 gigs. Maybe I'll go for a terabyte next time, because I typically delete stuff off of my phone because of space. My tablet had 1 terabyte. My MacBook only has 512. So I'm constantly kind of shooting, editing. Once it's up and ready to go, I end up deleting the content right after that because I don't have a place to really house it. I have a SSD off, off to the side that I could store stuff on, finished videos on for now. But in terms of all the rough cuts, all that stuff gets deleted. So storage is an interesting thing, because I'd rather have kind of like a home storage for like the rough cuts, all the shot material. That way I don't always have to delete it, and I can actually keep it project by project, because my phone can't house it. My MacBook Pro as of right now definitely can't house it, and I don't have an iPad anymore, and I only have a 1 terabyte SSD. So again, space is always going to be weird when you're doing a lot of creation, but maybe I'll go for 1 terabyte next time, because at least 512 is good enough for now to house, one specific project. So like if I'm doing a lot of shooting for, for my car, for a car video, or a MacBook video, or an iPhone video, it has more than enough space to be able to handle that specific day's worth of shooting. Unless I'm doing ProRes. ProRes is where it gets a little bit crazy, because a 20-minute video can be like 100 gigs. So I choose sparingly when I shoot ProRes, but that's why I'm like, maybe I will opt for 1 terabyte, because I actually have legitimate use for it with my iPhone 15 Pro. So from a storage perspective, 512 has been more than fine, but it hasn't been when I'm doing heavy creative tasks. And so that's something to consider with your phone. If you're a heavy creator, definitely look to opt for 512 with 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, and more. If not, you're going to be more than comfortable with 512. And Apple should really change the base to, I guess with the phone, maybe 256 is good enough. But if you're incorporating ProRes on the phone, like maybe 512 is generous, but maybe more appropriate for the pro level series devices. Like across the board, 512 should be the minimum. And 256 should not be in there for pro level devices. That includes the Macs, that includes the iPads, the phones. If it's pro level, it should be 512 at minimum, right? Spec'd out to like 2 terabytes. But if it's not pro, 256 should be the minimum, and you really don't have to go anything above 1 terabyte. I mean, you're looking at maybe 256 and 512. You don't even necessarily need 1 terabyte for a non-pro level device. And that's just being pragmatic about it, really, when you think about it. But I know this video has gone on a little bit long now, because I enjoy talking about the iPhone 15 Pro. I enjoy talking about the experience I've been rocking and how I've been using it, and how I can hopefully help others to consider similar when it comes to their iPhone purchases or their current iPhone that they're rocking, and to have full faith and confidence that their phone is still good to go. 7 months later, it's been out 8. I've technically only had it, I guess, 7, because it didn't come out till like October. So I don't know how everybody's saying 8 months later, unless they're going from the September date when they unveiled it. Kind of strange in my opinion. But 7 months later, phone's rocking strong. I can still recommend it mid 2024 year, even with the iPhone 16 on the horizon, because this year is going to be a big focus on software anyway. And I think the iPhone 16 is not going to have that much upgraded to it, maybe slightly smaller or bigger sizes and thinner bezels. But this year's about software, and iOS 18 is ready for the iPhone 15 Pro and vice versa. And that's what we should be focused on. So let me know down in the comment section below, you guys experience how you guys have been enjoying your iPhones, your phones in general. Are you looking forward to iOS 18? Are you looking forward to iPhone 16 series? The comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, you guys haven't already, make sure to knock the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn notification bells, all free that one's for videos, so you and I can still check see what's cracking. And don't forget to hit that super thanks button down there by the like and dislike button, Cash App, PayPal, and check the channel out for all the videos available to you. That's the way to keep tech fresh and alive on this channel. Join Micah signing out to the next video. Wait for it.